Hi features, it's Shaaba. Welcome back to my channel and thank you for clicking on another video. It's Monday and you know what that means. It is time for us to go fishing for a-holes. Why? Because it's a little bit of fun. It's a little bit of juicy drama. We can hopefully help a couple people out whilst expanding our own mindset along the way. Hey friend, another book. For me? Surfshark and the Ill-Fated Lovers. Thank you Surfshark for sponsoring today's video. Okay, we'll get back to that intro in just a second. Once upon a time, there were two rival families. A hot guy, Romeo, from one slid into the DMs of a hot girl, Juliet, from the other. Scandalous. Romeo told Juliet that he was sending her tickets so they could go and see Juliet's favourite band, Escape the Fate, obviously. But what Juliet didn't know is that Romeo didn't actually fancy her at all. He was trying to steal her family's finances. So he actually sent a fake ticket link as a phishing scam. Oh my goodness, the drama. Luckily, Juliet was using the VPN Surfshark, so even though she clicked the link, it's okay, Juliet, it happens, babe. Oh my goodness, you don't understand. Like, literally yesterday, I was on my emails and I was this close to clicking a DocuSign link. I was bamboozled. Oh, sorry. I'll continue the story. Luckily, Juliet was using VPN Surfshark, which encrypted her family's finances, keeping her safe before Surfshark went out and said, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou scumbag? Romeo found him and stuck a big old "you are the drama" sign on his forehead. Juliet took Surfshark to the concert instead, and they lived happily ever after, because not only did Surfshark help with the phishing attempts, he also helped Juliet unblock content libraries too, and gave all of Juliet's friends this cute little QR code and this link so that you too can get 4 months free when you sign up to use the VPN. Love it. And honestly, I cannot rate Surfshark enough. As you know, Peaches, I've been using them for years, and it's also totally risk-free for you to try, because if you don't like it, you get a 30-day money-back guarantee, which I'm pretty certain you're not going to need to use, especially with how questionable the internet has gone recently. I will leave it there for you though. The link is downstairs in the description box for you to take a look at. For now, let's go fishing for some a-holes. Oh whoop! Am I the drama for telling my uncle that prison isn't a flex, so stop talking about it in front of my kids? Whoa, we are starting a spicy today. I have this uncle Jimmy, says OP. He's in his 50s and he went to prison for 15 years and it made his entire personality. I mean, to be fair, going somewhere for 15 years is gonna make your entire personality, but let's read on. He's been out for 2 years now and keeps talking about his time in prison and how it shaped him. He's not even successful by any means. OP is sounding really harsh and is a cook at a fast food restaurant. Can I just say, I don't know too much about the prison system. I probably know more than the average person because I did a law degree and I specifically looked into the criminal justice system, things like rehabilitation models and techniques, and therefore like the stats involved. But from the little that I know from that and from the vast amount of media coverage that it's had, right, I don't think it takes a very special person to understand how difficult it is to reintegrate into life when you've gone to prison. I'm not here to judge why somebody was in prison. I'm not here to say whether they are a good person or not. All I'm saying is, like, objectively, if you have prison on your criminal record, it is so hard to get any kind of job. It is so hard to get any kind of like loan or housing security, just anything that requires the trust of other people because of how much that stigmatizes a record. Again, not saying it's right or wrong, just saying it's a fact. So I'm feeling really bad for Uncle Jimmy, who for 15 years has gone away, for 2 years has been out, has not gone back and repeat offended, has got a job, right? A secure one it seems, for 2 years cooking at a fast food restaurant, and OP is like, not successful. It feels a bit mean. Let's read on though. I finally got sick of hearing it at a family gathering this weekend and he was talking about his prison name and how he got them. I told him that I don't think going to prison is a flex, so stop talking about it around the kids because they'll get the wrong impression about how prison is cool or something. I can understand. From that small brief section, I think I can understand it from both points of view. I can understand you not wanting it to seem like, well, hard, and you like something that you would want your kids to aspire to, but I also understand that if this is something that someone has gone and like has been involved in for 15 years at a family gathering, of course they're going to talk about it. Did your kids start the conversation? Did they instigate that? Was it something that he just mentioned? What was the tone used? Like, were you reading it as a flex or was he actually flexing? Because I don't know, I kind of feel like maybe OP is a bit jaded, but then maybe OP sounds jaded because this is what Uncle's been talking about. We need some more information. Shut up, Shaaba. Let's just read on. My whole family, says OP, thinks I'm an ass, but I don't think going to prison for so long is a flex, and it's sad that he does this. My family and I were uninvited from the family celebration tomorrow because I'd rather side with my uncle who is a felon than spend time with me and my family. I'm not backing down because I want a better example for my own kids who are currently 6 to 11, rather than their great uncle teaching them that prison is cool. So am I the drama for telling my uncle that prison isn't a flex and stop talking about it in front of my kids? Okay. Oh, this is a tricky one. This is a really tricky one. I still feel like we need some more information, but I kind of want to say to OP, just because someone did something doesn't necessarily mean that it's like a flex, right? Just because someone's talking about something doesn't necessarily mean that it's a flex. However, not being there, if it was being used as a flex, I can see why that would irritate you. I'm just kind of wondering if maybe that was the case because you and your family have been uninvited, not this other person. So your whole family are kind of taking your uncle's side on this. I wonder if maybe you misread the situation. Maybe you didn't, and maybe he was flexing, in which case I think it's totally fine for you to have like very kindly said, hey, I get that this was 15 years of your life. I get that this is pretty much like a huge part of what you can talk about and what you can draw relations and experiences from in order to converse and bring your perspective to life. But please understand that my kids are super young and I don't want them thinking that prison is a good thing, and I'm worried that the way that you're communicating some of this might give off the wrong impression. There's a nicer way that you could have said that, either to Uncle directly or to the family members, without being like, oh, such a flex. Do you know what I mean? I'm also really struggling because OP just doesn't seem to understand that 15 years is a really big time, and that it makes sense as to why it would shape so much of someone's personality. And I also feel like OP, you could absolutely talk to your kids and be like, hey, this is Uncle's experience, but you need to know that prison is for naughty people, and it's likely, like I'm assuming this isn't a miscarriage of justice, right? It's likely that Uncle has done a bad thing, which is why he has been in prison, but we don't act like that, and it's not a cool place to be. So we need to be careful when Uncle tells us these stories about, you know, how he's lived. I'm sure there's like a family-friendly way of doing it. I just feel bad because I do think OP is being really abrupt. I'm gonna have to use the need more information badge here, I think, because without that extra information, I just don't know whether Uncle Jimmy is actually flexing. If he is actually flexing, I'm gonna say that you are not the drama, and I do think the family would be drama for kicking you out. Yes, if he was actually flexing and you're just calling things out that maybe the other people are too scared to do. But if he wasn't actually flexing and it's being read as a flex by you, which I feel like is maybe the case, only because of the insensitivity of your words around it, and also because the entire family have uninvited you and not Uncle Jimmy, I would maybe say you are the drama. Was that that feels complicated for the first one. Surfshark, help me out, babe. Can you give out these badges for me? Wow, what do you think, Peaches? Please, as always, I so welcome your fuzzy little butts downstairs in the comment section for a discussion. I just ask that you are kind when you are doing so. It's a balance, isn't it? You don't want to be telling people that prison is cool. At the same time, you want to give Uncle Jimmy the opportunity to have learned and grown from his behaviors, and maybe the things that he's saying is like, hey, this is what I needed to do. The word flex is so subjective. I need to see what other people have to say. Shall we? Shall we? Not the drama. You say you want a better example for your own kids and their great uncle teaching them that prison is cool, and it's hard to imagine how anyone could disagree with this. I see where this is coming from, and that's where I feel like these posts are so nuanced. I just wish we had some more details in this specific one. There are normally more details involved. Ooh, OP's provided some extra information and said, Jimmy lives with my grandma and she and several other family members, including my dad, think that I should be nice because he's still adjusting to life on the outside 2 years later. See, even this life on the outside and like still adjusting 2 years later, there is so much like shade coming off of OP towards Uncle Jimmy's situation here. I'm kind of getting the vibe that maybe OP doesn't have an issue with Uncle Jimmy talking about it. OP seems uncomfortable that Uncle Jimmy's experiences in any way is being passed on, and I wonder if that's because OP has not had closure themselves over what Uncle Jimmy did, whatever that might have been. And I can understand why that would very much bias somebody's views in this situation and read a tone that even might not be intentionally coming from Uncle Jimmy. Complex, baby. You are the drama. 15 years is a long time. It does shape your life. Do you remember what life was back in 2009? Don't even. Was that 15 years ago? Wow. Anyway, things sure have changed a lot. His time in prison is literally all he has to relate to during that entire chunk of time. It's natural for him to reference it. It sounds like he's accepted the portion of his life, but you haven't, and you're ashamed of him. this. It doesn't sound like he's flexing, but discussing reality, and you can't hide reality from your kids, but you can shape them into understanding the real world and not making them afraid of their uncle. I love how kind this has been phrased. I still think that we need some more information, but if what I maybe assume is happening has happened, where OP just has a huge chip on their shoulder, chip on their shoulder, then I really love how this is phrased, and I would totally agree with this. No drama here. Wow, we have all the badges. The guy spent 15 years in prison. He doesn't have much else to talk about and is still adjusting to new life. He needs to be able to share his experience. The fact that they're not inviting you to family gatherings has me thinking there's more to the story about how you handled the situation. Exactly this, because we need to remember there are 3 sides to every story. Yours, theirs, and the truth, which often lies somewhere in between. Perhaps your kids don't need to hear all the stories. You can turn down the bad ones around them. It's also your job to speak with them in private and explain why your uncle is like that and went to prison. The 11-year-old is old enough to understand. Even if it's not like, oh, your uncle did this. Like 15 years is a big sentence. That was either some like complex, very premeditated, like white collar kind of crime, or a very sort of like large ongoing kind of physical sentence. I'm trying to think of what would carry like such a large sentence. But regardless of what put your Uncle Jimmy in prison in the first place, there are always ways that we can explain things to younger family members that are appropriate and that they would understand. These little squishes, they're more clever than you think, you know? They can handle a lot more information. And you know what? Regardless of what you think they can handle, they're like little sponges. They absorb so much more information than we possibly think. And so I really do agree with the sentiment that we shouldn't try and hide them from reality. If reality is there and they are speaking to their uncle, it's your job as a parent to help them process the information and to ensure, of course, that the information is provided in a kid-friendly manner, but not to hide it entirely, especially if this is your uncle's life. 15 years really is a long time. I've been in a relationship with Jamie for 12 years, I think, and I can't imagine life not in a relationship with him. Like, it's a really long time. It does make total sense to me as to why that is such a focus of his conversations. Here we go. OP says that Uncle Jimmy was in prison for armed robbery. It was on the news and on camera, so it's not like he was innocent. Somebody said, I never said your uncle was, just saying that sometimes innocent people get caught up in stuff. And OP says, and some people are just effing awful. That right there, I think, says everything that we need to hear, which is that OP clearly has not had any kind of closure and is feeling some kind of way about Uncle Jimmy. I think Uncle Jimmy could be talking about marshmallows and unicorns to OP's kids, and OP would not enjoy it or appreciate it or say that in some ways it was flexing or causing some kind of damage. I think it's really useful to have this kind of insight, but it also does make me lean more towards the you are the drama badge in the situation and feel more inclined that the family, as a previous commenter said, maybe knows a bit more about what was going on and how you handled that situation. It is totally fine to feel some kind of way. I also think 15 years is such a long time. We need to give people some kind of credit. Like, obviously you are the one interacting with Uncle Jimmy. We are not. Have you given Uncle Jimmy the chance to see if he was in any way rehabilitated, if he has been in any way resentful and has learnt and grown from his time away in his actions? Because everybody deserves that, right? Especially after being away for 15 years. Maybe you have, and maybe he really is freaking awful, in which case I don't think your problem is with what he's saying, but just the fact that he's in the presence, and your issue goes way beyond this one conversation, right? Oh, it's a tough one. I think you just dislike your uncle, bro. You can't control what other people say, but you can influence how your kids think about and read the situation. You can also control how you think about and read a situation. You are the drama. Whoa, some hard truths today. I didn't expect to feel myself so pitted towards Uncle Jimmy, just from that reading, but often I just feel the need to disclose this. I think the way that OP wrote about it really just put me on guard to be like, oh, I don't think you're seeing this from an unbiased lens. I don't think you're reporting this maybe fully truthfully, which again may be absolutely warranted, but of course on a forum like this does understandably affect how people are going to read the results. Wowee, would love to know your thoughts. Should we go fishing once more? Meanwhile. Oh, sorry, just interrupting to add for a second that Jamie and I have been nominated by you, I presume, thank you kind peaches, as Gaming Creators of the Year. Just in case you didn't know, we play games pretty badly every week over on our Twitch, sometimes also here with our bods over on the Shaabaandjamie channel, and thanks to your kindness and B Creator shortlisting us, which is just so bananas. We are now on the shortlist for Gaming Creators of the Year. It would mean the world if you wouldn't mind voting for us, along with some of your other favourite creators across a whole bunch of categories. categories. I'll leave the link downstairs too. You can go check it out if you want. Anyway, let's carry on. Am I the drama for telling my father that he is never going to feel like my true father? What is with these like super dramatic family sentences? Oh my goodness. Prison isn't a flex, uncle. You're never my true father, dad. Okay. Deep breath. Let's go. When I was a young child, when I was a young warthog, my father handed me off to some relatives to raise me, says OP, saying he couldn't take care of me at the time. It's not like I never knew that he was my father. He and my mum came to visit, but it remained that I spent most of my childhood with other relatives raising me, and I was more familiar with them than anyone. Okay. After spending years in the care of relatives, my parents finally took me back in. At the time they were about to have their third child, they already had a child in my absence. Wow, okay, so that must have been some time. You were away. They fell pregnant, they had another child, they fell pregnant once more, and they're having a third, and that's when you're coming. Okay, wow, okay. It's not like my father was neglectful, he was strict, and I wasn't used to his behaviour. I'd grown accustomed to being raised differently with freedom, not the sense of authority that my father had. Needless to say, we didn't get along that well. I can totally relate to this. It can be very tricky. I think like people don't understand like the small things about like routines and subtle changes when you go from living from one family to another. Really small things like just going out to get like milk or to go for a walk or to pop to the loo when you're already out and about, and like remembering to tell someone because that's what one family wants but maybe not what another has ever asked for before. If you go into one friend's house and your friend happens to have other friends there, that always caught me out. The amount of times that I'd be told off big time. They'd be like, sorry, these people were there too? What? How dare you let that happen? How dare you not tell us? And I was just like, I've never had to do this before. Ooh. Hard relate, OP, hard relate. We'll carry on. OP was upset for a while after they took me in. The new life made no sense to me. I couldn't speak the language in the new country. I didn't like staying home so often. I just couldn't get used to it. OP. We lived like this for years, moving between so many cities. I could never keep anything much, and I was an extremely sentimental person. I'd always complain and cry for them to send me back to be under the care of my relatives. My father wasn't a bad father, and I don't hold it against him that he left me in the care of others for so many years. He spent good money on me and my education, and he's taken me on trips before, but it still never felt like he was my true father because we never connected. Still, I acted like I truly thought of him as a father figure. I'd feel guilty otherwise. The same goes for my mum. I felt like they were only ever there for my financial gain in a way, nothing else. This sounds, again, might be overstepping. I don't know the full situation, of course. All I'm saying is there's a little bit of like a contradiction that's coming out. I feel like OP maybe feels like this guilt and this obligation to say like, yeah, you were great, you were fine, you were there for me, but like in the same breath to be like, I hated it, I always wanted to be somewhere else, but I don't hold it against him. I get that he spent good money on me, but I also feel like he was only like wanting me for the financial gain. It's tricky. Anyway, OP says, anytime I go back to spend time in my hometown, I'd always sleep over at relatives' houses. It felt like a way to connect with that life that I miss so much. I can sense that you're missing it. My father recently mentioned that I was too old to be doing this, and I mentioned that these relatives were like parents to me, and he told me that the only set of parents I'd ever get were him and my mother, which is so confusing. It must be so confusing to get because you're like, but the place that I feel I get emotion regulation, support, and the feelings of family and raising is not with you, it's with these other people where I do genuinely feel at home, especially when life with your actual parents, it sounds OP, is very unsettled with a lot of movement. This turned into a huge argument, says OP, where I told him that it was only natural for me to feel this way about people who raised me for so long, but he said that they'd never replace actual parents or the parental bond that I'd have with them, and I shouted that he's never truly felt like my father and never would. It ended up badly, and I left to stay at a relative's house for a while. I know my father is still beyond angry and upset, but I feel like what I did was understandable. He should have known this from ages ago. Am I the drama? No, OP, I really don't think you're the drama. I think for any parent, I'm intrigued. I kind of want to understand what your parents' motives were for having you live elsewhere and be raised by other people. I understand that there could be a range of reasons why that might happen, but for parents to do that and then have you back, it seems kind of odd, especially with the fact that OP seems really conscious, right, of their feelings, and they're like, hey, I think it's understandable. I think like OP is being so incredibly mature about the way they're thinking about all of this, and they are not reporting their parents, their like biological parents here, as being bad parents. So it's odd to me that somebody who would do that and then take their child back would not also have the capacity to understand that living away for so many years under a different lifestyle, right, would of course make somebody feel some kind of way. I can totally see see that maybe from the parent's point of view, from the dad's point of view here, he's feeling some form of resentment, some form of guilt, some form of, oh, well, I need to reinforce my position as a father here, and I'm feeling threatened by the fact that you're wanting to go and see these other relatives. That's like textbook psychology, family dynamics, sure. But you're right. I do think it would be totally understandable why you said what you said, and for you to feel that way, and therefore quite odd for him to be like, look, we're the only parents you're ever going to get, so no, don't feel this way. Don't go and see these people. Don't like feel the sense of sentimentality. It's not like you're saying you wanted to live with them again. You're just visiting them often because you've got a close bond. So I absolutely don't think that you are the drama whatsoever, OP, for doing that, for wanting to pursue that bond, especially if there are lifestyles and behaviors there that you preferred, that you got on with better. Sometimes it can be really frustrating. And I understand the feeling, truly, of kind of like living two different worlds, like very Hannah Montana, right? Like I often jokingly refer to myself as like the Desi Hannah Montana, live in the best of both worlds, whether it become like from culture or like whatever. But it can feel so frustrating having experienced life where the grass is greener and feeling that, and then moving back and then like experiencing a different kind of green grass and being like, oh, but like always wanting the green grass from the other pastures. I took that metaphor too far, but that is why I really don't think that you are the drama. You're a kid. You sound like you have so much maturity and insight and self-reflection despite all of the turmoil that you've gone through. I think that's pretty admirable, and I think your dad's been a little bit shit here, I'm not gonna lie. Yep, that's my view. You don't like it? Tough. That's my badge. I'm not changing it. Not the drama. You develop deep and meaningful connections with relatives who guided you through your early life. You still have that feeling of family when you're with them. Your father should feel shitty for pawning you off to live elsewhere. He has no one to blame but himself. Ooh, I think that's a little bit harsh without understanding the context. I wish we knew why. I think maybe father will be feeling some kind of guilt, but I'm not sure we can like say with absolute certainty he has no one to blame but himself. It may be that not looking after you during those years was the right thing to do. Maybe they were not of mental capacity. Maybe they were not of resource. You know, maybe they were going through addiction or something. Like, who knows, where for whatever reason they weren't able to look after you, and it was in your best interests for you to be in a more stable home. But as a parent, if you're making those moves, you need to accept and accommodate the other family that your kid is naturally going to form. Oof. Not the drama. Your father probably has some guilt for how you're raised. That's his problem, not yours. Yes, yes. Big yes on that. It is his problem, not yours, OP. Gosh, I feel like they've been really heavy. Should we kind of manifest a bit of a lighter one this time? A blooper. Am I the drama for removing my child from a school where other parents followed? Ooh, a cryptic queen, I see. Let's read. I've got 2 kids in public schools. Those are the best in my country. What is a public school? Is a public school a state school? It's public versus private, right? Okay, cool. Yeah. I'm sure this is the case. A public state school is the non-fancy, non-paid for schools. The oldest of my kids is Jane. She's 7. This school year, a kid joined the class and the parents were all called in. They said they were a special ed child, which nobody minded. Okay, this is an inclusive school and the kids already have a diverse class, including special education kids, children on the spectrum, among others. It has been like this since pre-K, kindergarten, like nursery. However, 1 month after school started, says OP, Jane was sleeping worse. She jumped with every noise and hated going to school. I tried to understand what was going on and I was shocked. The teacher confirmed and looked like she was at breaking point herself. Oh no. The child, let's call her Lainey, is a teenager. Oh, is this the new special education child that you were talking about, I'm guessing? She has constant meltdowns, screams and hits everybody. Her mother refuses for her to wear a diaper. She just says lacy poop or lacy pee and immediately does it in front of everybody. She has a helper with her at all times, but when this happens, the teacher also leaves the room to help change her. I have no idea why this child is not in a more suitable environment. That is a really good question. It sounds like you are in the States because you're using words like pre-K and public school. I don't know if pre-kindergarten, like kindergarten systems are used in Europe, or I don't know. But you would think in such similar systems that there would be schools and resources available for students that do have independent requirements like this. It's great that she has a helper, but honestly, if your teacher, like if your school's teacher is having to leave a classroom and leave like a full class unattended to help one person, that's not fantastic. Also, if a student is having a problem with things like this, like specifically toileting and exposing other students to that, that does become a hygiene hygiene problem. And that's like, I'm sure, one of the big criteria points, that and the fact that she's like hitting people, right, that endangers the safety of the other students. So it's not just in the other students' best interest, but also in Lacey's best interest, and the teacher's best interest, and the helper's best interest, in everyone's best interest, for Lacey to get the proper help that she needs. I understand that sometimes that's not always available, resources are very tight, but I'm honestly quite shocked to hear that there is a system where in a public school, a student like Lacey is not getting more help. Let's read on. I took Jane to the doctor, and he said that she should be removed from the environment as she was getting traumatized. Oh. I asked for my child to change classes, and after a while the school obliged, but then so did the other parents. It was a mess. I ended up removing my Jane and placing her in a private school, and 2 other friends also did that. I can see that you are doing what is best for Jane, and I can see that it is not your fault in any way, that clearly her mental well-being is being affected by this. You happen to have the resources to move her to a different school and a private school. Fantastic for you. I feel bad for the other kids. Happy for you. Happy for the other people who are able to do the similar thing, but at the same time, like, it shouldn't be a thing that is required in the first place. It shouldn't be up to other students to have the resources to move their kids into private school for them to not be traumatized, hit, and not being able to sleep well due to their school experiences. That's also not kind on Lacey. What? Let's read on. Last week I went to school to learn what the plans for Lacey were, and since she'll be moving along with the other kids to next year's class, I won't re-enroll Jane, and I warned that I'd be removing my youngest and putting both in a close-by public school for this school year. Look, you need to do what you need to do as a parent. On this occasion, I can see that you're not doing this to be discriminatory. You're genuinely concerned for the well-being of your kids, because one has literally had their well-being affected. This is the school's problem. The school's not doing anything about it, and so you are. You're not putting any silly ultimatums in. You're not saying, oh, Lacey needs to move school. You're saying, look, I don't feel comfortable with my child being in this environment, so I'm taking action. Right now I can't see anything wrong, but let's read on. A lot of parents did this too, which will likely lead to that year 8 class next year to just have a handful of students and Lacey. The parents of the kids who stayed for the next year are annoyed because Lacey's getting bigger and harder to handle, and they fear that she could hurt the kids. Again, that is not the onus of any of the parents. That is on the school. They're gathering signatures to create a special ed focus class, and that's not how it works in that school. By doing that, they'll remove all children with a personalised education program from the class when they're succeeding. I didn't sign, and it's causing a bad environment with several parents in the neighbourhood, but your kid doesn't go there anymore, right? So why would you sign anyway? It's also really hard to determine because you don't know what the other needs or requirements are for other students. Yesterday I was at a grocery store, and the mother of a boy with autism who's been inserted in a regular class was speaking to me about this, saying that she might remove him as well if this special class for special kids goes forward. Oh, I understand now. So even people who are like highly functioning and able to be in a more ordinary school environment aren't able to be there because parents are wanting all kids who are in any way not neurotypical, I guess, are going to be moved to a different class, which doesn't sound right. Lacey just needs additional support, right? It sounds like there's one student who isn't being given the resources that they need, who needs those resources, and that would fix all of the problems. How has this turned so messy? Oh no. Other parents heard what we were talking about, and now everybody's arguing. One of them said that it's my fault that things are so bad because I should have tried other solutions before removing my child from that school. It is not your fault. If you didn't do that, other people would have done it first, right? It's always going to be somebody. You're just being used as a scapegoat, babe. This is absolutely the school's problem, and anybody who has a problem with other parents, even Lacey's parents directly and only, right, would be misdirecting their anger. Everybody needs to ask the school for more resources. I feel bad for Lacey, says OP. So do I. It's not her fault, but she does need a specific assistance program. I should also add that her mother refuses anything that isn't integration to a regular class, and being a public school, their hands are tied. So am I the drama? Lacey is 15, by the way. Okay, so Lacey is 15 and your kid is 7. Okay, I don't think you're the drama. I think that's quite simple. I think the drama lies somewhere between mum of Lacey for absolutely insisting in putting Lacey in a class that clearly doesn't serve Lacey's needs, let alone anybody else's needs, and also the school for not being able to do it. Though I also very much appreciate that as a public school, they're working with their hands tied behind their backs. They don't have the resources, they don't have the funds, but there must be. You can't just let one parent make a decision that's unwise and that's detrimenting all children, including their own, where they just have to deal with that. I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I'm really hoping that the system must accommodate some form of safeguarding in a way that would prevent these situations from happening. But here we are with it happening. I don't think you are the drama, my love. I think you're doing what's best for your child within the confines of what you're able to do. You're clearly showing a lot of sympathy, which is very well deserved for Lacey as well. And the school needs to sort this the F out. Would you agree? Oh my goodness, why does this feel like such a uncertain episode? This girl is way too old to be in a class with young children. I don't know, because I do understand that sometimes age alone is not the contributing factor. Mental ability is a contributing factor to schools, and I can envisage many cases where older children would fit quite seamlessly into younger cohorts because that is where their pace of learning is. Similarly, there are students who are super young, right, who are in classes and cohorts that are significantly older than them. Young Sheldon comes to mind because I'm literally just watching Young Sheldon right now. He's in college as like a little squish, because that's what happens, babe. We're a gorgeous rainbow of people, and sometimes the boxes that we try and create for society doesn't fit everybody that we need to. There are always exceptions. This commenter goes on to say they don't need to see someone who's almost an adult defecating in the middle of the classroom, and they certainly don't need to be in class with a physically disruptive person twice their size, not the drama. I definitely agree with the physically disruptive thing, but I actually really dislike the tone that this person is using, especially for saying things like, you know, like, oh, you're almost an adult, you shouldn't be defecating in the middle of the classroom. Like, what has age got to do with it? If somebody needs support, if somebody is living a different world to you, it's not like they're intentionally doing it. People like this just really frustrate me with their absolute ignorance and the assumption that this is a choice. Not the drama, your kid, your decision, and honestly, I would stop engaging with the situation if I were you. It seems like you're in a close-knit and possibly small community where you see people that you know everywhere. Just refuse to comment on it. You did right by your child and there's nothing wrong with that. I honestly agree with the sentiment of this. I definitely feel like maybe you are being involved in situations that don't need to involve you. These conversations in grocery supermarkets, the fact that other kids are like following your kid's path, you did right by your child. You need to act in your child's best interest. And I think it's really sweet to consider the community of students as well, as you are doing with Lacey. But beyond that, it is the school's job, not yours. The school's job and Lacey's parents' job, not your job. And it feels really weird for you to be the scapegoat because other parents have followed suit. No drama here, says someone, except possibly Lacey's mum. The situation sucks for everybody, including Lacey, your daughter, and the other kids, plus special ed kids being successfully integrated. I won't call Lacey's mum the drama just because it's not clearly what options are really available. It sounds like there isn't a special class for special kids, so Lacey would be totally on her own. I don't know, it seems like the way that the school works, with all kids pulled and put into a special ed class or in a regular class together, is the real problem, and you guys are all caught in a system that can't be adapted to consider the best interests of each child individually. Interesting. I do think we need more information here. I would agree with everything except for the fact that OP, and it could just be like a bad choice of wording, but OP said that Lacey's mum is refusing for any other option except for this. I guess for me, when I hear the term refusing, I expect there to be other options. They're like, no, I'm not considering this because this is what I want for my child, regardless of whether it's what's best for them and the other people in the class. But who knows? Oh, wow. I feel like this one has been very heavy. Let's do one more. We'll see if we can end on like a solid... Yeah, we know what we're talking about. Boop! Am I the drama for telling my husband and father-in-law not to pee in the yard? Okay. Context. We live on a farm, secluded dirt road, no neighbours at all. My father-in-law grew up in the house. It was given to husband and I when his grandfather who lived here passed away, as my husband does all the farming now with help from father-in-law daily. We have 4 kids, aged 1 to 10, a mix of boys and girls. Okay. They both, as in father-in-law and husband, have always just peed wherever they wanted, as long as no one was around them. But yesterday, my daughter was looking out of our kitchen doors and said, "Look, mummy, Pop is peeing in the driveway." And he was, with his back to the hour, but could still see that he was peeing. Interesting. My husband has also gotten a little out of control with peeing wherever he wants. It's bothered me for a long time, but I've never said anything because I didn't want to make a big deal out of nothing. But when my kids are seeing it and knowing what's going on, I lost it a bit, admittedly. Right. Is this like normal because you're on like dirt roads and in a farm? I don't know. I've never really been in close proximity to a farm except for like for a day trip, and I've always seen toilets. But maybe like I understand that farms are really big. Perhaps it takes a really long time to go to a toilet. I don't know. I would love the insight of anybody who is involved in farm life to let me know if this is standard behaviour. Anyway, OP continues. I had a talk with them both and said that they need to go behind the barn or in the house, no more, whenever, wherever. Channel that inner Shakira, baby. This caused some pushback from my father-in-law, who said that we couldn't see anything bad because he was facing away from the house. After going back and forth, he stormed out. My husband then got calls a bit later by his sister saying that his dad was embarrassed and no longer feels comfortable at his childhood home and his farm. I mean, it's also your current home, right? And your farm, your husband's working it. So your kids deserve to feel comfortable. You deserve to feel comfortable. If that means not having public indecency, then I can understand it. I just think it's really rich to be like, oh, well, he's embarrassed that he can't come to his old childhood home. Well, you're feeling comfortable in your literal home. Babe, Like, what? I would understand if it was a request that seemed abnormal, but this is a standard request, right? Don't pee in public, is what you're asking. Don't pee where my kids can see you. It's normal. If you had other people coming to stay with you long term, say you had your sister or a friend coming to stay with you, I'm sure you wouldn't want them to just see random people being in your driveway. Let's read on. Now my husband is saying I should have gone with him and he would have taken care of it, but the side note is that I do go to him about other things and he always tells me to take it up with my father-in-law myself because the father-in-law doesn't listen to him. Am I the drama here? No, I don't think you're the drama, regardless of like who told him. Even your husband being like, oh, you should have told me and I would have brought it up with him. The fact is, he still would have had a problem, father-in-law, because he's still gonna want to pee in the yard. It doesn't matter who the messenger is, he doesn't like the message. Sounds like maybe husband is being okay with it. He's like, sure, fine, but father-in-law's not gonna listen to me. Just don't pee in the yard. I think that's quite simple. I'm gonna say you are not the drama here at all. I feel very strong in that conviction. There you go, I got what I wanted. An easier am I the drama post. Do you agree? Not the drama. Even without kids, I put my foot down over the everywhere and anywhere. Why would I want to step in a man-made mud puddle in my own driveway? No. I'd put my foot down too. No appetite left. I wouldn't put my foot down. I'm not sure what I'd be putting it down in. Ew. Whoa. Hang on. I'm assuming this is just pee. Right? It would be a whole other story if what they're doing is pooping in the yard. I mean, maybe that's just doing what farmers do. I don't know, but I just think, look, if you're being asked to change this habit to suit other people, which I don't think is unreasonable, then stop complaining and freaking change it, or go and get a polo. Find yourself a decent place to crap in, all right? Oh, OP's actually added some info here and said, I guess I'm confused because when I was breastfeeding in an empty house in my living room, I was told that I had to close the blinds because my father-in-law stopped once and saw me through the window where I was actively breastfeeding, and he felt that he needed to let me know that he could see me and that I needed to close the blinds, and I always did because I didn't realize he could see me and I never wanted to make him feel uncomfortable. So I closed all the blinds and I wore my feeding cover because he randomly comes into the house and I couldn't tell him not to do that because it was his house before it was ours. So I thought I could share things with him that made me uncomfortable too. You absolutely could. You absolutely can. You absolutely should. I'm hearing big pot kettle black double standards, which I don't like. Yeah, especially hearing this, you are absolutely not the drama. And someone else says, already not the drama, but this bulldozes it over the line. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. I love that. Oh my goodness. Do you know, as well as just like expanding my own mindsets about hearing other points of view, I love the cliches, is that what you call them? The quotes, the phrases that I learn from these forums. Fafo, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. A pound sand. That's another one that we had recently. That's pretty normal country behavior, but I think both reactions were a little overboard. I would agree. I also just think it's really weird for like the sister to be like, hey, let my father pee in his old memory house. Ugh, get in the bin, take up knitting, oh my goodness. Go crochet your dad a toilet. What? It's just bananas. There are actual problems in the world and this is what you're stressed about. Somebody says, speaking from Idaho, it is absolutely common here that during the first week of the school year, multiple kindergarten boys will pee outside at recess and have no idea that it's not allowed at school. Really interesting. Okay, well there you go. So in like farming land, it is a common thing, but you've been told you need to change that behavior now. There are other people there who don't like it. Deal with it. It's their house, not the drama, and neither your father-in-law or husband seem like the type to wash their hands after peeing or pooing, so you shouldn't let them touch your kids unless they wash their nasty hands. I didn't even think about that, but wow. Opie says, my husband always washes as soon as he comes in because his hands and arms are always covered in hay dirt and oil. He doesn't even come up from the basement or farm room until he has, lol. OP babe, in which case, just asking, surely he would need to go to the toilet to wash his hands before like getting out any appendage in order to pee. Do you know what I mean? Like, if his arms and hands are always that covered in dirt, why is he going to the toilet in the first place without washing his hands in a bathroom sink first? Just me? Just my thought. I don't know, I'm gonna leave that thought there, and I'm gonna thank you for joining me in today's video. Oh goodness peaches, if you did enjoy today's video, please do consider giving a thumbs up, subscribing if you'd like to see more, and of course, checking out the gorgeous surf shark. I see you, boo. The details to which are downstairs in the description box. Thank you again. Let's carry on the party downstairs in the comment section. Just remember to be kind, and I'll catch you next time with another video. Be kind and have a great day. Bye.